has a 2JZ 300ZX. Let's go, man. This is a 1990 300ZX Z32. It was a non-turbo, but I mean it doesn't really matter because I bought it as a shell anyways. So yeah, I bought it as a shell. It didn't have an engine. That is basically what you see here, and that was kind of why I decided to engine swap, because I didn't want to put the stock V6 back into it. I've just heard a lot of bad things about it. So it's my 1990 300ZX. Got the T-tops, it's a manual. It's pretty sweet. Alright, next, I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hood on this thing, and I'll kind of show you what's underneath there at the moment. So, this is my 2JZ 300ZX. Obviously, the engine is in the car. I'll go ahead and talk about the engine now. This is an engine out of a Toyota Supra. This is a 2JZ GE non-vvti engine. The reason that I got a non-turbo 2JZ was simply because of the prices, and it's just not worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do an NAT build on this GE. And because it's a non-vvti, it has thicker rods. So stock block, this engine will actually handle probably about 600 reliably, and then you can push it more obviously, but most people run about 600 on it reliably, with a few modifications, which I'll go ahead and tell you. So if you're planning on doing an NAT build, you can obviously look this up. There's plenty of information on it, but I'll give you the quick rundown. Assuming you have a non-vvti engine, you will not have to do anything internal other than the head gasket and head studs. So pistons and rods, they'll be perfectly fine. Like I said, 600 horsepower easy. Very reliable with that horsepower range too. But on this engine here, I did ARP head studs, I did a head gasket, and I also did a GT oil pump. So those are the three things you'll need to do if you're going to be going NAT. If you do have a GE VVTi, you'll have weak rods, so you'll have to replace the rods with aftermarket ones. There's really no way around that unless you want to make 300 horsepower, which I don't, so it's really up to you. But yeah, you won't have to do anything internal if you buy a non-VVTi, which is what I did. So basically mine's ready for boost. I just don't have a turbo kit yet. It probably will be a while before I do turbo it, but it is ready for power at the moment. Next, I'm going to go ahead and kind of explain what you'll have to do if you're going to attempt this swap. So first of all, motor mounts, transmission mount, obviously. Here's my motor mount. It's from Freed Engineering. I also have some S13 solid bushings that I'm using. The reason I'm using these solid bushings is because it drops the engine down just enough to clear in the back. They're kind of recommended for this. You can also run, I think they're called Cusco mounts. They're kind of pricey in my opinion, but they also work. Here you can kind of see the other side better. So there's that. I also have the Freed transmission mount. This is for an R154, which I have down here. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is my transmission mount. I was originally going to make one, but I decided just to buy it because I didn't want to hassle with it. So Freed makes that whole kit that you can buy. They also do ones for different transmission setups as well. So they're kind of nice. Next, I have my cross member down there. It's kind of hard to tell, so I'll try and get a better angle here. Okay, so I'm currently under the car. This is the cross member that has to be modified right here for oil pan clearance. So as you can see, it is notched out. You have to notch it out in order to fit the engine in the car. And then I reinforced mine and re-welded it back up. But mine fits with probably almost half an inch of clearance all around, which is great. I probably didn't have to notch as much as I did, but it's all right. You probably also saw I have a front sump. So my oil pan is in the front here. If you buy a 2JZ that has a front sump, you won't have to change it, but I actually bought one that had a rear sump. So I had to buy a front sump and change them out. Really just depends on what you buy. The front sumps are pretty cheap, rear sumps are expensive, so it kind of works out. I actually made money off of it, so here's the interior at the moment. Nothing impressive. Stock interior, it's actually kind of gutted right now. It's a 2+2, I didn't mention that before, so it's got rear seats in it. I don't actually like the rear seats much. Well, first because they were blue. I don't know why anyone would put blue seats in a red car. But I'm probably gonna try and fab something up. I don't think I'm gonna put the rear seats in, at least not looking like this. So interior's gonna need a full makeover. I don't know if you can tell, but there's this cheap bride fabric on these interior pieces from the previous owner. Those pieces turned out decent, but every other piece just peels off in your hands. So I'm gonna have to do a complete makeover on every single piece that was messed up, which was pretty much the entire interior. Not cool. It's whatever. I might just try and buy a whole interior kit, but that's the interior at the moment. Like I said, it's a manual car, so I won't have to manual swap it, which is very nice. Although the shifter location will be off with the transmission that I'm going to use. So I'll go ahead and show that next. All right, here's my R154 transmission out of a Mark III Supra. Obviously it's a manual, it's a 5-speed. And I also have my bell housing, so that's a 2JZ to R154 bell housing. All you'll need is a R154 clutch kit, and then you'll need a 1JZ flywheel. I think it's mainly just due to the clearances. The bell housing won't fit a 2JZ, so you have to use a 1JZ flywheel. Mine actually hasn't came in yet, or else I'd show you, but this is my transmission setup. As I mentioned before, my shifter will be in the wrong location. So this plate here will unbolt, and this will be extended back a few inches. I need to mock up the transmission before I can get that welded up, because I want to get it exact. But as far as transmission goes, that's what will have to happen. Firewall clearance looks good at the moment. These coolant lines will have to be bent to clear the head. This guy will not be here, don't worry about that. Valve cover's clear. Barely. Everything else kind of clears. It's hard to tell, but here in the starter location, it looks like I'm gonna hit a little bit in the firewall. So I will have to beat that in a little bit. This thing will handle, I think most people say around 600 before they blow, which is about what I want to make, maybe a little less. So with this whole setup, I want to run about 550 wheel, and I think I'll make it pretty reliably. At least I hope so. But that's how it's going right now. That's the first test fit for the engine. Fits perfect. Hood shuts perfectly. I have no issues at all with the 2JZ fitting in there. It's a very nice swap. Plenty of room in this bay. As you can see, I'm kind of doing an engine bay makeover. I've done many hours of Bondo to get to this point. Only half the base primered right now, but I'm working on it. Trying to make it seamless. Getting there, it's close. Not too far away. But I'll be posting a bunch of videos. I have all the footage from everything I've done, so I will be posting that soon. But this is just kind of a build list and an update on everything. And yeah.